Are the Giants going to go the trade route to try to improve their pitching, or will they find other guys that are in their salary range? That's all coming up on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Salz. Welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks to you, now the #1 sports podcast network. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show at Sacktown Sports 1140, The Alan Salz Show. Be sure to check that out as well. And I MC Sacramento Rivercast games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we are discussing the Giants going after free agents in their price range, the top 10 trade candidates according to Bob Nightengale, and could the Giants be interested in any of them, and whether or not as fans you are worried that the Giants aren't fully all in. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Well, yesterday was quite the show. There were some fireworks. I had a lot of people hitting me up saying, man, you were going in on the Giants. And yeah, I was, because I think they deserved it. That report coming out, I had a lot of people also saying, hey, Alan, well, we don't know what's going to happen yet. We don't know, but it would be kind of weird, I guess, if you're really trying to throw everyone off the scent. Didn't feel like that needed to happen, right? They're the Yankees that are always in the mix, the Dodgers that are always in the mix, but Imai had said that he didn't want to go to the Dodgers. So I guess that would have left the Giants and the Yankees, but it kind of felt like the ball was in the Giants' court, or on their field, if you will. And the Giants said, hey, we're actually going to step away for whatever reason. They wanted Andrew Baggarly to get that information, and that's just how I feel. I don't think Andrew Baggarly necessarily leaked it, and the Giants saying, no, we didn't want anybody to know. I guess that's possible, but when you have source information like that, typically it comes within the building. So my feeling is that this is something that they wanted to get out. Now, to be fair, he is the same guy that got the Tony Vitello information. And I said after that happened that probably came out about a day or two prior to when the Giants thought it would actually come out. But going back to the spending in that model, the Giants had been kind of telling us that the whole time. This was just, I guess, the nail in the coffin, if you will, that we're not spending anything on anyone. I think we thought, hey, they're not going to go get Imai and Framber Valdez, but they might go get one of them because they've already paid these infielders, and that's going to be their thought process. But it wasn't, or it doesn't seem to be. So yeah, whether it was supposed to get out or not, I guess I can't really speak to that, but somebody told him that information, and it was somebody that was either in that building or very close to that building. And the way it was just kind of broken down, I'll put it to you like this. Yeah, when it comes to information that is so detailed like that, I mean, everything with the 10% that they sold, and obviously that's public information, but just the way it was crafted, it made it sound like, to me, this was the Giants preparing the Giants fans to not get their hopes up and to prepare them for what their plans were. So now we move forward to where the Giants could go, and the free agent pitchers. A lot of people saying, hey, well, there's other guys out there, Alan. Let's not get too downtrodden on them. Let's see what they do. So let's see what they have to work with. I took a look at some of the names that we brought up before, some of the names that we haven't, just guys that are less expensive than some of the top tier pitchers. We've already talked about Cody Ponce And he's coming over looking to make the most money that somebody has made coming back from overseas in the way that he's doing it. So the industry sources briefed on his market expect he will command a 3-year deal of at least $30 million and possibly in excess of $40 million. The previous high for a pitcher returning from Korea was 2 years, $15 million. This is from The Athletic. So even though that's expensive or that's a lot of money for somebody coming back over from Korea, that is, in my opinion, not my money, but in my opinion, a bit of a drop in the bucket compared to what we were just talking about with the Imais and the Framber Valdezes and guys like that. So that's one name on the list. There is Lucas Giolito, who his projection is 3 years, $57 million. He had a late season elbow injury, so they're trying to deduce whether or not that's cause for concern. Merrill Kelly is 38 years old. Chris Bassitt is 37 years old. Both of them projected at 2 years, $46 million. Dustin May, our old foe from the Dodgers, had some crazy injuries. He's bounced around a little bit. He was on the Red Sox as well. 2 years, $26 million. Michael Kopech, 2 years, $22 million. And Zack Littell, who was just facing the Dodgers on the Reds, 2 years, $20 million. So those are some of the names that might get thrown around. Cody Ponce, to me, if the Giants were already doing their due diligence overseas, maybe this is a guy that would interest them. I know there are some fans that thought that maybe he's a little bit overrated, but I don't know that you can call him overrated because he's not commanding a ton of money. He's commanding a ton of money respectively to where he was and coming back over. But compared to some of the other names out there and some of the other projections, I think this is one that the Giants could be interested in. So those are some of the options that I came across. Obviously, they're not as sexy. They're not as fun. They're a bit older. They've seen some things, but maybe the thought process is too, I was thinking about this, when you do have a new coach or do have a new manager, you want guys that are kind of about their business and they know what's going on, right? You would have we already knew, the Framber Valdez thing, I don't think that was ever going to happen because of what happened with the catcher and the price, just a bunch of different factors there and variables there. But maybe there is kind of a middle ground between the older pitchers where they kind of know what's going on. And when it comes to Tony Vitello as a manager, hey, we don't necessarily need a ton of guidance because we've been doing this for a very long time. And then by the time they age out, you would then have hopefully some of the pitchers that have hit for the Giants, and Tony Vitello would have kind of learned and grown and gained experience while they are learning and making their way as well. So that's one way to look at it. I know there isn't a lot to be thrilled about from the pitching aspect. I do think the Giants have a decent lineup, but this is a direction they could go. Another direction they could go, just in general, whether it be pitchers or position players, trades. Bob Nightengale of USA Today, the top trade candidates, we break them down and see if the Giants would have any level of interest there. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So we have the top 10 trade candidates, according to Bob Nightengale of USA Today, and we are going to go through them right now and kind of just break down whether or not the Giants could have any level of interest in the names that Bob Nightengale is bringing up. Let's start here with somebody that we've talked about before. Number one is Tarik Skubal Okay, he's the ultimate prize on every contender's wish list. He's easily the finest pitcher available, with Pittsburgh Pirates ace Paul Skeens going nowhere. What team wouldn't want Skubal leading the way to the World Series? The trouble is that the price tag will be enormous for only 1 year of service, unless someone is willing to offer $450 million on the spot. The Tigers will trade Skubal only if they get completely blown away, delaying any tough decision until next summer. But it doesn't hurt to ask, and the Tigers are willing to at least listen. Number 2, Freddie Peralta. We talked about him last week, 17-6 with, by the way, the Giants aren't going to do that for Tarik Skubal. I know he has ties to the Bay Area and was here, grew up here, or was born here for a hot minute, but that ain't happening. Not based on what we just heard. Peralta, 17-6 with a 2.7 ERA, 204 strikeouts. Can fit into anyone's budget. He only earns $8 million in the final year of his contract and would cost less than Skubal in terms of a trade. Yet, after reaching the NLCS last year, the Brewers are hungry for more and believe they have the rotation that could vault them to their first World Series appearance since 1982. Just like the Tigers, the Brewers would have to be presented a package impossible to ignore to move on from Peralta. Doesn't really seem like that's going to happen there. Number 3, this is a name we haven't talked about in a while. Position player, Ketel Marte, second baseman, Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks continue to have operators standing by, ready to field your phone calls. They have told anyone and everyone they are willing to listen to offers for their all-star second baseman, who signed a 6-year, $116.5 million deal last spring with $46 million in deferred money. Okay, maybe I should stop reading now. So we could probably skip past Ketel Marte just based on that price tag. Number 4, Stephen Kwan, Cleveland Guardians. They nearly traded him at last year's deadline, and it was the best move they didn't make with their dramatic comeback to win the AL Central. Kwan, a 4-time Gold Glove winner, is projected to earn $8.8 million in second year of salary arbitration. Certainly, the Guardians are better with him, but he's the best outfielder on the trading market and would be a much more reasonable option than high-priced free agents like Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger. We haven't talked at all about Stephen Kwan. And based on his size and how he plays, that's a bit surprising for me. Stephen Kwan is right up my alley. And the reason I haven't talked about him is because I am trying to figure out what the Giants would be with him. Number 1, obviously what it would cost. And number 2, what the Giants would be with him. So you would have him in left field. You'd basically be Elliot Ramos, I would assume, would be a part of that package just because it would really be about the prospects. And then eventually you're going to have to pay him, which presents itself other issues. But you're also eventually going to have to pay Elliot Ramos if he keeps playing well. But yeah, I don't know. I know a lot of people want Stephen Kwan because they really like a leadoff hitter. I might sound insane here, and I'm not saying that this guy is going to be Stephen Kwan, but I want to give, and I'm going to be nice to him since a lot of you say I'm never nice to him. I want to give Jung-Hoo Lee one more chance to see if he can be a leadoff hitter. He's not going to be Stephen Kwan, right? Or 1 or 2. I know 2 typically has become the best hitter on the team, and that was Rafi Devers. That's where he batted last season. He's not going to be Stephen Kwan, but I'm trying to figure out if maybe Jung-Hoo Lee could be a diet Stephen Kwan. Could he be that before we make a move like this? I guess my issue with Stephen Kwan is I don't know. Right now, I'm still stuck on this whole not spending for a pitcher thing. So I just don't know how much better Stephen Kwan makes the Giants. It's probably the easiest way to say it. I know he's a heck of a ball player, and I know he would make the Giants as well as any other team better. I don't know if the Giants are contending for a World Series if right now all they do is add Stephen Kwan and 2 38-year-old pitchers. I don't know. Right. So to give up the prospects in the package that you would have to for Stephen Kwan, I don't know that I would want to do that. And again, he's my type of guy. All right. That is my type of guy that if all things went great for me in an alternate reality, I'm not sitting here right now. I am that version of Stephen Kwan playing for somebody's team. So I love guys like Stephen Kwan. I just don't know for the Giants if moving off of him and the prospects and the package that you would have to give, if that's the right move. And I don't know, I guess I'm not really in a position player mindset right now as well. Number 5 on the list is Joe Ryan of the Minnesota Twins. These next guys, now we're kind of talking a little bit. Joe Ryan, Minnesota Twins. The Red Sox nearly pulled off a deal for Ryan last year's deadline, only for them to run out of time. He's one of the premier starters on the market with 3 years of control and projected to earn just $5.8 million in his first year of salary arbitration. That is more like it, folks. That's something to keep an eye on right there. That is a situation that it feels like the Giants would jump all over and would be willing, as the Twins, they did sell at the deadline. The Twins, they are moving in that direction. So to me, that is something that I would just put a little pin in, put a little bookmark in as we move forward. Number 6, similar situation, Mackenzie Gore. He's controllable, he's cheap, and he still has the talent that every team believes they unlock and turn into a frontline starter. If Paul Taboni, the new man in charge, wants to rebuild the farm system, Gore is the perfect player to kickstart that project. He's another one I would say the Giants could definitely be interested in. Number 7, Brandon Lau. I know they got a Lau and a low on the Tampa Bay Rays. Pretty sure this is the Lau, Brandon Lau. The Rays raised eyebrows by picking up Lau's option, considering it will cost him $11.5 million a year before he hits free agency. After resisting trade offers for him the past 2 seasons, this is the ideal time to move the All-Star. The question now is whether the Rays' new ownership would really want to move a fan favorite as they try to generate some goodwill with the team returning to Tropicana Field. Yeah, again, I mean, interesting. I don't see the Giants going in that direction. Next on the list, Jarren Duran, Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox listed but never came close to trading Duran at last year's deadline. Now it makes little sense to keep him. They already have Roman Anthony, Rafaela, and Wilyer Abreu in the outfield, and they have engaged on free agents, Bregman and Pete Alonso. Duran, who hit 16 home runs and 84 RBIs, is still under control for 3 more years. I think it's interesting, and that price tag might not be crazy. So that's something there. Brendan Donovan, St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals rebuild began when they traded Sonny Gray before spring training, and they will dump Nolan Arenado, who plans to waive his full no-trade clause. Yet their biggest trade piece will be Donovan, their all-star who can play second base, shortstop, and the outfield with 2 more years of club control. Hey, a lot of people out there questioning Casey Schmidt and that situation. I just think the Giants feel like they've done enough in the infield, and I don't see that happening, but can play the outfield as well. Last but not least, you just got to go up 80, just drive up 80 and go pick up Luis Severino. We know he doesn't want to be out here in Sacramento. He has, let's just say he has shown us that. The Athletics, who celebrated his arrival a year ago when they signed him to a 3-year, $67 million contract, now could be cheering his departure. Severino has not been shy, letting everyone know how much he hates pitching at home in Sacramento, and has the stats to prove it. He was 2-9 with a 6 ERA and 15 home starts, and was 6-2 with a 3 ERA and 14 road starts. He's scheduled to earn $20 million in 2026 with a $22 million option in 2027. Could a change of scenery make the difference? The A's are trying to persuade teams to believe it. That is a fascinating one, because yeah, you're kind of sitting here saying, well, which guy are you? 20, what? That would be $42 million owed over the next 2 years. So you look at that like a 2-year, it's a 2-year, $42 million deal, but you'd have to trade for him. So you're giving some pieces up. What we do know about the A's is they have a ton of young talent. So I don't really know what they would want, to be honest with you. The reason this might work out is because the A's might be looking for some of the Giants' young pitching. If you look around the A's lineup, they don't necessarily need a bunch of young talent. They got 18 shortstops. They got Jacob Wilson. They got the big Amish as well. You know, so they got a lot of guys, Nick Kurtz. They got a lot of guys and a lot of young position players. So you might be able to do a deal for call it a Blade Tidwell or somebody like that to kind of get it done. So we'll see what happens there. One more segment with you. Are you worried the Giants aren't all in? Let's break it down. Coming up next on Locked On Giants. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. So this last segment, I kind of just want to follow up on yesterday and everything that I saw on social media, reacting to the news, reacting to what I had to say. A lot of people liked my burger analogy. Trust me, if you've been listening to Locked On Giants, the food analogies, they're going to happen, right? I'm addicted to it when I'm not listening or watching sports or doing shows like this. You can catch me watching all of the food shows, Guy Fieri, Gordon Ramsay, all of them. So I'm full of all the food analogies. So with that being said, am I worried that the Giants aren't all in? Are you worried that the Giants aren't all in? I think there is a reason to be worried. And I think that the biggest worry is that we are being played like a fiddle. I think the biggest worry is that the Giants know that this fan base is so passionate that they don't necessarily have to spend every single red penny that they have in order to fill those seats and to sell those crab sandwiches and those Dippin' Dots and the Ghirardelli, anything that you want to sell. They don't have to spend a ton of money in order to do that. They just have to be competitive, and they just have to make us believe as fans that they are trying to win. Now, when reports like this come out, we're not idiots, right? We're not stupid. We know what it costs to get into the club. We know the cost of admission. I look at it and I look at the Giants like, and I know Great America out in the Bay is going to close soon, but I look at it, if you go to Great America, what's it called? Six Flags now in Vallejo. It's no longer, back in my day, it was Marine World. If you go to Disneyland, if you go to any of these amusement parks, you know that there is a sunk cost, right? You know that you are going to spend a level of money in order to have fun or in order to have a good time when you go to a game, right? When you take your girl or your significant other or your family or friends to a game, or your parents, you know, all right, I'm going to spend X amount of dollars and we're just going to deal with it because it's part of the experience. The Giants are refusing to believe that. In the NL right now, spending a level of money, and I would say in the NL West, spending a level of money is part of the experience, with the experience being actually contending. And we talked about it yesterday. They spent the money on the wrong things, right? But that's their problem, not ours. You're trying to sell us. Look, Willy Adames, you like him? Cool. I know a lot of people like him. Broke the home run streak, or the home run drought, I should say. You got Rafi Devers. A lot of people excited about him. I think Rafi Devers is probably the most confusing piece in this, because I do think a lot of people were at least curious as to how Bryce Eldridge would have looked with just full runway. And I understand that the Giants didn't want to take that chance, but that was not random, but it didn't make a ton of sense. And their thought process was, obviously, it's hard for us to get those type of hitters at Oracle Park, so this is just what we're gonna have to do. And I don't really knock them for that. It's just tough because Bryce Eldridge right now only plays first. If you could get him in the outfield, I mean, this opens that whole thing up. If Bryce Eldridge could play right field, this whole thing would be completely different. I don't know that he can. I haven't seen him play any outfield. He was injured a lot, so I don't know how springy he is. When I've seen him run, it has not looked too springy, but like I said, he was injured last season and kind of playing through it, even at the AAA level. So I don't know, but that would have opened a lot of things up. They've went and they've made these commitments to Matt Chapman. To me, I would do it backwards, right? I've gotten on Matt Chapman before, and I've gotten in trouble. People say, Alan, why are you getting on Matt Chapman? You know what he brings to the table, and you know he's a leader, he's a vet. So I'll give you this. Maybe it wasn't Matt Chapman. Maybe the question is really the Willy Adames move, right? And even though Willie Adames, like I said, just had a pretty good season where he got real hot at the end and turned, not even the end, he turned things around and offensively and defensively. I think that might be the one that you look around and say, okay, well, Matt Chapman, cool. We know what he is. He's a vet. And then you ended up going to get Rafi Devers. Could you have, and I get it, you don't have a shortstop ready. Could you have maybe piecemealed it together and went with a 2-year type of contract there instead of the big boy, when you do know that you have multiple guys that are 18 years old? If you had signed somebody to about a 3-year deal, if either of those shortstops hit, you'd be looking at 21, 22 years old. Now, this is not on me bagging on Willie Adames. It's just, if you're the Giants and you knew you were going to shut down the spending, personally, I would have rather taken a chance on, and if you are a defense first team, a pitching and defense first team, I would have taken a chance on a shortstop, maybe figuring it out in a couple years, instead of that commitment to Willie Adames, if you knew it was going to keep you from being in conversations for some of the premier pitchers in this free agent class, which is a pretty darn good one. So it's not that I'm afraid that the Giants are all in or not, or afraid that they're not all in. I'm afraid that their version of all in does not resemble the version of all in that is required right now in the NL West. And it's not even about the Dodgers. I mean, it is, but you're not even halfway to what the Dodgers are doing. So we're looking and saying, man, we're not even saying to spend like the Dodgers. They're not even really spending like where the Dodgers start as far as their money is concerned. And, a lot of people were saying the Giants are too interested in other ventures as well, that they have the organization and the ownership group. Maybe that's true, and we'll see what happens. But all I know is that the Giants, if the team does not reflect a true contender, Giants fans being loyal, being a fair weather fan, to me, those things are kind of confusing. But if we saw it get ugly a couple years ago, but if their roster and the games are not competitive and they are not in the race, they're going to feel it and they're going to regret it. So they better hope it works. So I think they're all in. I just think that their percentage of all in, if you say I'm all in and you go to the casino, but you actually have a couple of chips in your pocket, in your mind, you're all in because this is all you're willing to spend. But somebody that knows, well, didn't you come in with and it's nobody's business, but somebody knows, well, didn't you come in with $500? So technically you're not all in when you try to say that to a dealer because, hey, the buy-in is $20. I only have 15. This is all I have in my pocket, right? Sometimes the dealer believes you. Sometimes the dealer says, that doesn't matter, right? The buy-in is 20 because they kind of know that you might be lying, right? Especially if it's a Saturday night. If it's Sunday morning, you're about to leave Vegas. All right, fine, whatever. If it's Saturday night, they know you're probably taking out more money eventually anyway. So sorry, the buy-in is the buy-in. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Thank you for watching Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @_Styles File, Styles with an I, and the official Locked On Giants account. We will talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for all the love. Continue to comment, like, subscribe, download, all those fun things. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.